The Swarm Awakens. The film opens in a near-future Chicago, 2026, where a polluted skyline looms under a toxic haze. Dr. Marcus Okoye, Dwayne Johnson, a primatologist turned Special Forces operative, oversees a secret government lab experimenting with genetic modification to combat climate collapse. A sudden breach unleashes a swarm of mutated insects, giant wasps with razor-sharp mandibles and acidic venom, bred to restore ecosystems, but now feral. The lab explodes, and Okoye escapes as the insects overrun the city, their buzzing a chilling omen. The camera pans to a news report, Insect Apocalypse or Salvation, setting a tone of dread and ambiguity. Act 1. The infestation begins. Okoye, haunted by the experiment's failure, teams with Dr. Lina Carter, a new actress, a geneticist who warned of the risks, and Sergeant Jamal Hayes, a new actor, a tactical expert. They learn the insects, dubbed neo-wasps, were engineered by a corporation, Ecogenesis, to pollinate dying crops, but a coding error triggered their aggression. Flashbacks reveal Okoye's motivation. His sister died in a drought, driving his quest to save humanity, yet he now questions the cost. The trio navigates a deserted Chicago, facing neo-wasps that build hives in skyscrapers, their intelligence evident as they ambush with coordinated attacks. The city descends into chaos, panic spreads, and Ecogenesis denies responsibility, blaming a natural mutation. Okoye discovers a prototype repellent, but it's incomplete, requiring a return to the lab. The act ends with a neo-wasp queen emerging, its size dwarfing buildings, as it lays eggs across the skyline. Act 2. The hive's heart. Okoye, Lina, and Jamal infiltrate the lab, now a neo-wasp hive, using military drones to map the structure. Lina decodes the genetic flaw. The wasp's enhanced survival instinct overrides their programming, a metaphor for humanity's environmental overreach. Flashbacks show Ecogenesis executives pressuring Okoye, their profit motive clashing with his ethics. The team faces a gauntlet, acid sprays, melt equipment, and a soldier is cocooned alive, highlighting the insect's evolution. A tense standoff with Ecogenesis mercenaries reveals their plan to nuke Chicago, sacrificing the city to contain the outbreak. Jamal sacrifices himself to hold them off, while Lina and Okoye escape with the repellent data. The Fragile Peace. The film opens in 2017, 4 years after the events of World War Z. A desolate Moscow skyline, cloaked in snow and silence, serves as the backdrop. Jerry Lane, Brad Pitt, now a weary ex-UN investigator, navigates a fortified safe zone, his face lined with scars and regret. The zombie pandemic, halted by a vaccine that makes humans imperceptible to the infected, has left humanity fractured. Safe zones like Moscow, Novosibirsk, and Buenos Aires teeter on collapse, their populations dwindling. A radio broadcast crackles with news of a new outbreak in the Arctic, where survivors report evolved zombies. The camera pans to a horde breaching a wall, their movements faster, coordinated, hinting at a mutation. Jerry, haunted by his family's separation, Karen and the children are in a distant zone, resolves to investigate, setting a tense tone. Act 1. The mutation emerges. Jerry reunites with Sagan, Daniela Curtis, the Israeli soldier from the first film, now a commander in a UN remnant force. They travel to the Arctic, where a research team led by Dr. Elena Voss, a new character, played by a new actress, reveals a chilling discovery. The vaccine's side effect, a dormant virus, E29, has mutated in extreme cold, turning zombies into hive-mind predators. Flashbacks show Jerry's post-2013 struggle. He distributed the vaccine globally, but political infighting and resource wars eroded the victory. The establishment narrative lauds him as a hero, Yet he knows the truth. Humanity's survival is a fragile lie. The team faces an ambush by these evolved zombies, dubbed Sentinels, which use rudimentary tactics to trap prey. Jerry and Segan escape to a derelict Russian sub, where they find evidence of a corporate cover-up. The vaccine was rushed by a pharmaceutical giant, Pharmacore, to secure profits, not save lives. The act ends with a sentinel breaching the sub, forcing a desperate evacuation as Jerry vows to expose the conspiracy. Act 2. The Cost of Survival. Jerry and Segan link up with a resistance group in Iceland, led by Captain Malik, a new character played by a new actor, a former NATO officer turned rebel. They learn Pharmacore is deploying E-29 as a weapon, turning zombies against each other to reclaim territories. But the mutation has backfired, creating Sentinels. Malik's group includes a young survivor, Anya, a new character, played by a new actress, whose family was sacrificed in a Pharmacore experiment. Her rage mirrors Jerry's guilt, forging a bond. Flashbacks reveal Karen's, Mireille, Enos, perspective. She leads a safe zone in Canada, unaware of Jerry's mission, but facing riots over dwindling food. The Resistance uncovers a Pharmacore plan to detonate nuclear devices in zombie zones, triggering a nuclear winter to reset humanity, a strategy echoing the book's grim aftermath. A tense infiltration of a Pharmacore outpost ends with Segan wounded and Anya captured, the act closing on a Sentinel's roar as nukes are armed. Act 3. The Reckoning. The climax unfolds in a frozen Norwegian fjord, where Pharmacore's launch site looms. Jerry, Segan, and Malik launch a guerrilla assault, using scavenged tech to disrupt the Sentinel's hive mind with EMP bursts. Anya, freed during the chaos, turns on her captors, revealing Pharmacore's CEO planned to repopulate with an elite few, discarding the masses. Jerry confronts the CEO, a new character, played by a new actor, in a high-stakes showdown atop a missile silo where the CEO justifies the plan as humanity's only hope. Jerry, rejecting this dystopian logic, sabotages the launch, triggering a Sentinel counterattack. The battle peaks as Sentinels overrun the site, forcing a moral dilemma: detonate a nuke to stop them or risk their spread. Jerry chooses a controlled blast, sacrificing the silo but saving nearby zones, guided by Sagan's dying wish to protect the innocent. The explosion illuminates the fjord, and the Sentinels collapse, their hive mind severed. The film ends with Jerry reuniting with Karen via radio, promising to find her as a new dawn breaks over a scarred but hopeful world. Post-credits scene. In a Pharmacore lab, a scientist injects E-29 into a zombie, its eyes glowing with newfound intelligence, hinting at a sequel. The Ashes of Loss. The film opens on Pandora, 2170, with a haunting aerial view of the home tree's smoldering ruins, a year after the Way of Water. A somber chant from the Omaticaya Na'vi fills the air as Jake Sully, Sam Worthington, and Neytiri, Zoe Saldana, mourn their son Nitayam, his spirit joining Awa. The camera pans to their surviving children, Loak, Britton Dalton, Kiri, Sigourney Weaver, Tuck, Trinity Jolie Bliss, and the human spider, Jack Champion, gathered around a memorial, their faces etched with grief. A sudden tremor shakes the ground, and a fiery plume rises from the ashlands, a volcanic region to the north. Varang, Una Chaplin, leader of the Ash people, emerges, her fiery eyes and ash-streaked body signaling a new threat. Her voice echoes. The fire purges the weak as her warriors raid a nearby Omaticaya outpost, setting the stage for conflict. Act 1. The Flames of Division. Jake, now a seasoned leader of the Omaticaya resistance, struggles to unite the clans against the human RDA forces, led by the resurrected Colonel Quaritch, Stephen Lang, who seeks to exploit Pandora's resources. Neytiri, consumed by rage over Neteyam's death, pushes for war, clashing with Jake's cautious approach. Loak, haunted by guilt for his brother's sacrifice, ventures into the Ashlands to prove himself, encountering the Wind Traders, a nomadic Na'vi clan riding sky barges powered by wind currents, led by Elder Zephyr, David Tholis. They warn of Varang's ambition to dominate Pandora, using volcanic ash to poison water sources. Kiri, sensing a disturbance in Eywa, discovers her connection to the planet deepens, experiencing visions of a fiery entity, possibly a manifestation of Pandora's wrath. Spider, torn between his human roots and Na'vi family, is captured by Quaritch's forces during a raid, forcing Jake to mount a rescue. The act ends with Varang ambushing the Omaticaya, her warriors wielding flame lances, as Neytiri's cry of defiance ignites a battle lost to ash and fire. Act 2. The Heart of the Ashlands. The Sully family flees to the Wind Traders' floating city, a breathtaking network of woven platforms and wind sails. Zephyr, a wise but enigmatic figure, reveals the Ash people's origin, a clan exiled for embracing violence, their leader Varang forging a pact with a volcanic spirit, Ashka, for power. Michelle Yeoh voices a mysterious healer, Liana, who aids Kiri in interpreting her visions, suggesting Ashka's rise threatens Eywa's balance. Loak bonds with a young wind trader, Tala, a new character, learning to navigate the skies, while Took's innocence offers hope amid the tension. Quaritch, using Spider as leverage, strikes a deal with Varang, supplying her with human weaponry to destabilize the Na'vi. A breathtaking aerial chase ensues as Wind Trader barges evade RDA gunships, with Loak piloting a glider to save Tala. The group discovers an ancient Na'vi temple in the Ashlands, where Kiri communes with Eywa, unlocking a memory. The Ash people's exile was unjust, fueling their hatred. The act closes with Varang sacrificing a Wind Trader prisoner to Ashka, summoning a volcanic eruption that engulfs the temple, separating the family. Act 3. The Fire's Reckoning. The climax unfolds in the Ashlands' volcanic heart, where Varang plans to unleash Ashka's full power, turning Pandora's ecosystems to ash. Jake and Neytiri lead a coalition of Omaticaya, Wind Traders, and reformed Ash defectors against her forces. Loak, guided by Tala, infiltrates Varang's stronghold, freeing Spider, who reveals Quaritch's betrayal, arming both sides for profit. Kiri, merging with Eywa, channels a counterforce, summoning water spirits to douse the flames, while Took's courage inspires the troops. A brutal confrontation pits Jake against Quaritch, their fight atop a collapsing lava bridge, ending with Jake severing Quaritch's avatar link, leaving him stranded. Neytiri faces Varang, their duel a clash of fire and grace. Neytiri spares her, offering redemption, but Varang chooses death, triggering Ashka's collapse. The volcano stabilizes, and the Ashlands begin to heal, symbolizing reconciliation. The film ends with the Sully family reuniting, Kiri planting a seed from the temple, and a vision of Neteyam's spirit smiling as a new dawn rises over Pandora. Post-credits scene. In an RDA lab, scientists analyze Quaritch's severed link, hinting at his return in Avatar 4. The Hunter's Legacy. The film opens in 1865 Transylvania, 5 years after the events of Werewolf. The Beast Among Us. Daniel, Guy Wilson, reprising his role, roams a desolate village as a seasoned werewolf hunter, wielding his grandfather's silver amulet. A full moon rises as a new threat emerges. A massive, multi-limbed werewolf tears through a caravan, leaving claw marks etched with runes. Daniel, now hardened but haunted by his past transformation, vows to end the curse, unaware this beast is tied to his bloodline. Act 1. The Rune of the Pack. Daniel teams with Charles, Ed Quinn, the scarred bounty hunter who spared him, and a new ally, Katarina, a fierce Romani tracker played by a new actress, to investigate. The villagers whisper of the Pack Alpha, a werewolf said to command others, its power linked to ancient runes. Flashbacks reveal Daniel's mother, Vedoma, survived her imprisonment and hid a secret. The amulet contains a fragment of the original werewolf's soul, passed through his family. The trio discovers the runes match a forgotten ritual site, the Black Hollow, where the Alpha was born. The Alpha attacks, its unnatural form, 3 heads and a serpentine tail, overwhelming them. Daniel's lycanthropy resurfaces, forcing him to chain himself, while Katarina deciphers the runes, suggesting the Alpha seeks to awaken a dormant pack. The act ends with the village burning, the Alpha's howl summoning more beasts. Act 2, The Hollow's Curse. Daniel, Charles, and Katarina venture to Black Hollow, a cavernous ruin guarded by lesser werewolves. They encounter Stefan's ghost, Adam Crowestel, in spectral form, the Wurdelak from the first film, taunting Daniel about his dual nature. Flashbacks show Vedoma's escape led her to the Hollow, where she sealed the Alpha, passing the curse to Daniel. The group finds a ritual chamber with a stone altar, the Alpha's origin point, but a trap separates them. Charles is wounded and Katarina is captured. The Alpha, revealed as a mutated descendant of the original werewolf, infects villagers, building its pack. Daniel, guided by Vedoma's spirit, Nia Peoples, learns the amulet can sever the curse if used in the ritual. The act closes with the Alpha preparing to sacrifice Katarina, its power peaking under the blood moon. Act 3, The Final Hunt. The climax unfolds in the Hollow as Daniel confronts the Alpha. Charles, despite his injuries, rigs explosives to collapse the cavern, while Katarina escapes, wounding the beast. Daniel, embracing his werewolf form, battles the Alpha in a visceral showdown. Claws clash, and the cavern trembles. He uses the amulet, channeling its power to destroy the Alpha's core, but the ritual backfires, threatening to unleash all cursed souls. Vedoma's spirit guides him to break the amulet, ending the curse at the cost of his lycanthropy and his human memories. The cavern collapses and Daniel emerges amnesiac, saved by Charles and Katarina. The film ends with him staring at the amulet's shards, a new hunter's journey beginning. A distant howl suggests the curse lingers. Post-credits scene. In a distant forest, a rune-carved claw digs from the rubble, hinting at the Alpha's return. The Hunter's Burden. The film opens in 1888, London, shrouded in fog, where Gabriel Van Helsing, Hugh Jackman, roams as a weary outcast. 2 years after defeating Dracula in Transylvania, he's cursed with lycanthropy from his werewolf transformation, struggling to control his beastly urges. A scream pierces the night as a new threat emerges, shadowy figures abducting citizens, their eyes glowing red. Van Helsing tracks them to an abandoned church, where he battles a horde of vampiric ghouls, hinting at a darker force. The camera pans to a cryptic symbol etched in blood, a cross entwined with a serpent. Act 1, The Serpent's Rise. Van Helsing seeks aid from Carl, David Wenham, his friar ally, who reveals the symbol belongs to the Order of the Serpent, a cult worshipping a forgotten vampire lord, Mordecai, sealed by Van Helsing's ancestors. Mordecai's resurrection requires a bloodline sacrifice, Van Helsing's own, tied to his angelic origins hinted in the first film. Anna Valerius, Kate Beckinsale, appears, having survived her apparent death, now leading a resistance against the cult. Their reunion is tense, with Anna blaming Van Helsing for her brother Velkin's fate. The cult, led by Sister Alara, a new actress, a seductive yet ruthless priestess, unleashes ghouls across London, turning victims into thralls. Van Helsing's lycanthropy complicates his hunt, forcing him to chain himself during full moons. A clue, a stolen relic, the Serpent's Fang, leads them to a derelict asylum, where they encounter Dr. Moreau, a new actor, a mad scientist experimenting on hybrids, hinting at the cult's next move. Act 2. The Descent into Madness. Van Helsing and Anna infiltrate the asylum, facing Moreau's creations, wolf-vampire hybrids. Flashbacks reveal Mordecai's origin, a fallen angel turned vampire, imprisoned by the Van Helsing line, his power tied to the Fang. Moreau, coerced by Alara, plans to use Van Helsing's blood to free Mordecai, offering a cure for his curse as bait. A brutal fight leaves Anna wounded, and Van Helsing, losing control, transforms, slaughtering hybrids but sparing Moreau, who escapes. The cult ambushes them, capturing Anna. Carl decodes the Fang's inscriptions, revealing a ritual site beneath St. Paul's Cathedral. Van Helsing, aided by a reformed Igor, Kevin J. O'Connor, races against time, his lycanthropy worsening. Act 3. The Final Hunt. The climax unfolds in the cathedral's crypt, where Van Helsing confronts Alara and Mordecai. The Vampire Lord, a towering figure with bat-like wings and serpentine eyes, emerges, overpowering Van Helsing. Anna, freed by Igor, stabs Alara, disrupting the ritual. Van Helsing, embracing his curse, transforms willingly, matching Mordecai's strength. A ferocious battle ensues, claws against fangs, culminating in Van Helsing impaling Mordecai with the fang, shattering it and sealing the Lord's essence. The crypt collapses and Van Helsing, reverting, collapses beside Anna. Carl arrives, offering a partial cure. Van Helsing retains his humanity, but gains controlled werewolf traits. The film ends with them walking into the dawn, Van Helsing vowing to hunt the remnants of the cult, his legacy redefined. Post-credits scene. In a distant jungle, Moreau examines a new hybrid, muttering, "The experiment continues," teasing a sequel.